GADGET here, and today we are going to do the ultimate comparison of every detail between the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro. Microsoft's Super Console versus Sony's Super Console. We're going to compare all the specs, the CPUs, the GPUs, the RAM, storage, size, dimensions, weight, everything, the kind of drives they use, what networking infrastructure is built into the console, if you need a subscription or not, ports, what kind of support such as 4K, HDR, VR support, all the good stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to compare is a very important component, the CPU of the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro. The Xbox One X has a CPU of 2.3 gigahertz, an 8-core AMD custom Jaguar CPU. Compare that to Sony's PlayStation 4 Pro with a 2.1 gigahertz, 8-core AMD custom Jaguar CPU. The next big, extremely important comparison will be the GPU of the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro. The Xbox One X has a GPU that is an integrated AMD graphics with 6 teraflops of performance. We compare that to the integrated AMD Polaris graphics of the PlayStation 4 Pro, which has 4.2 teraflops of performance. Just the raw numbers and power there, the Xbox One X actually has a 40% increase in performance compared to the PlayStation 4 Pro. Now, we're not trying to pick sides yet, but when we're comparing RAM, the Xbox One X has 12 gigabytes of extremely fast GDDR5 RAM. We compare that to the PlayStation 4 Pro's 8 gigabytes of the same extremely fast GDDR5 RAM. So the Xbox One X has 12 gigabytes of RAM, the PlayStation 4 Pro has 8 gigabytes of RAM, so there's actually 4 gigabytes more RAM in the Xbox One X. Now that can actually come into play whether it's system dashboard speed, increased loading times, anything, but that is a considerable amount of extra RAM in the Xbox One X. It's a third more RAM. Now, if you're not convinced how important that extra 4 gigabytes of RAM is in the Xbox One X, that actually gives the Xbox One X a total memory bandwidth of 326 gigabytes per second versus a total memory bandwidth of 218 gigabytes per second on the PlayStation 4 Pro. That's over 100 gigabyte per second difference between the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro. That is a massive amount of data that can be processed faster on the Xbox One X. That can easily result in increased load times if you're using an Xbox One X. The increased CPU and GPU power of the Xbox One X versus the PlayStation 4 Pro will allow the Xbox One X to run video games at a native 4K resolution and 60 frames per second, while the majority of PlayStation 4 Pro games, they can run at 4K, some of them, but the majority are super sampled or upscaled from 1080p to a 4K-like resolution, and even in that situation, rarely do those games run at a solid locked 60 frames per second. So that increased CPU and GPU power of the Xbox One X, as well as the increase in RAM, makes a huge difference in allowing the Xbox One X to easily run games at 4K and 60 frames per second. Now, as far as hard drive space, both the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro come equal with 1 terabyte of hard drive space. Now, the Xbox One X does allow the hard drive to be accessed at a faster rate than the PlayStation 4 Pro, and that is because Microsoft saw a situation where they could take a little bit of an advantage, and they added in faster hard drive access versus the PlayStation 4 Pro. So comparing dimensions, if we were to compare the Xbox One X footprint size versus the PlayStation 4 Pro's footprint, that also includes height, the Xbox One X is at a size of 11.8 inches by 9.5 inches by 2.4 inches. And if you were to compare that to the PlayStation 4 Pro, the PlayStation 4 Pro is sized at a larger 12.8 inches by 11.6 inches by 2.1 inches. So while the PlayStation 4 Pro is actually a little bit shorter than the Xbox One X, the Xbox One X is actually smaller in length and width than the PlayStation 4 Pro. In fact, the Xbox One X is the smallest Xbox video game console that Microsoft has ever made, and they happily tout that whenever they're discussing it. It is pretty impressive that they were actually managed to shrink the size of the console overall, especially considering how large the original Xbox One launch console was. That thing looked like a VCR. Now you have a sleek and slim 4K Blu-ray player. Now let's compare the weight. Let's say you were holding one console in your left hand, the other console in your right hand. The Xbox One X actually weighs more at 8.4 pounds versus the lighter PlayStation 4 Pro, which weighs 7.2 pounds. They're both pretty heavy systems compared to their original launch versions, but they are still very light considering all the power they have packed into them. Comparing the optical drives between the two, those will be the physical disc drives that they each have. The Xbox One X comes out on top with a 4K HDR Blu-ray drive, while the PlayStation 4 Pro comes in with a standard Blu-ray DVD drive that we're all used to from the original PlayStation 4, but the Xbox One X does maintain that same 4K HDR Blu-ray drive that they introduced with the Xbox One S. As far as the networking architecture between the two consoles, they both have gigabit Ethernet ports. That way you can plug in an Ethernet cable that can transfer at gigabit speeds. They both support the newest 802.11 AC Wi-Fi technology. That's the fastest technology that's available right now. They both have dual bands at 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz, so you can process on dual networks. They both have Bluetooth. That shouldn't be surprising. They've had Bluetooth since day one. Even the old Xboxes had Bluetooth. Even the old PlayStations had Bluetooth. If you want to play online on either of these consoles, you will need a subscription. For Xbox One X, you will need an Xbox Live subscription if you want to play your games online. And if you have a PlayStation 4 Pro, you will need a PlayStation Plus subscription if you want to play your games online. Now, both of those subscriptions do come with free games every month, so it's definitely worth it. But free games, play online, pay up. Now, as far as the interface ports, those are the holes in the back of your consoles. The Xbox One X has an HDMI 2.0 in port, as well as an additional HDMI 2.0 out port. Now, that would be to your cable box or to a different device, such as, an Apple TV, or you could even plug your PlayStation 4 Pro in through your Xbox One's HDMI port. The Xbox One X also has 3 USB 3.0 ports, as well as optical audio port and an IR out port. That's an infrared blaster. That way you can use universal remotes with your Xbox One X. And as for interface ports for the PlayStation 4 Pro, it has almost exactly the same ports. It has an HDMI 2.0 port on the PlayStation 4 Pro, 3 USB 3.0 ports, as well as a port for the PlayStation camera, and an optical audio port. If you want to use a Kinect camera on your Xbox One X, you're going to need that external power cable that you have to buy separately, and that will plug your Kinect camera in through a USB port. VR support. We all want VR. It's the future. We love VR. VR for virtual reality. Now, does each console support virtual reality? The Xbox One X has been advertised by Microsoft to support high fidelity VR. It does not at this point right now. And the PlayStation 4 Pro already supports VR through the PlayStation VR headset. 4K support. Yes, that's why these consoles are incredible. Both consoles support 4K, and that is through video games being output in 4K, through 4K video streaming, 4K apps, everything like that. So yes, both consoles, the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro, both support 4K. HDR support, that is high dynamic range. Both consoles, just like 4K support, yes, they support HDR. Xbox One X supports HDR, and the PlayStation 4 Pro also supports HDR. That is a larger color gamut, a wider range of colors, and both of these new consoles support that. Price. There is actually a pretty big difference between the price. The PlayStation 4 Pro is priced at $399, and the Xbox One X is priced at $499. Now, is it worth that price difference? What do you guys think? Is that worth the price difference? Would you pick the PlayStation 4 Pro, or would you pick the Xbox One X? And does price weigh into your decision? So those are all the specifications on both the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro, the 4K video game systems from Microsoft and Sony. What are your thoughts on this new mid-cycle console upgrade to 4K? How do you guys feel about that? Are you interested? Are you interested in upgrading to a 4K console? Or are you just going to stay with your original Xbox One or PlayStation 4? Are you excited about 4K and HDR? Is this going to cause you to upgrade and get a new console, sell your old one? Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know if you guys have any questions. And I also want to know, which one of these two video game systems would you buy if you could only own one? Let's say you got them for free, and you could pick from either the Xbox One X or the PlayStation 4 Pro. Which one would you pick if you got one for free, but you can only own one? So let me know down in the comments below, which video game system would you pick if you could only have one? And yes, you can put PC if that's what you love. We don't discriminate here. Whatever you love, we love. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. You're probably already subscribed. I know you. You're smart. And if you don't know already, I'm the Gadget God. I do the research, so you don't have to. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a powerful 4K resolution rest of your day.